Today we're going to talk about the last 10 years of Disney Star Wars.
Yes.
And what if we, because we are podcasters and YouTube people and content creators, and so now in the year 2026, if I make content, I know more than everyone at Lucasfilm does, and my opinion should dictate what all of Star Wars is, because I have some listeners. So that's the energy we're going to serve today. We are YouTubers who have our pulse.
Some notes. Where's my check?
So
yeah,
exactly. And I would like my box shipped to me, please, Lucasfilm, with my goodies in it, so I can open it up. So I need to open it up for my YouTube shorts.
Got any more of them?
Oh, look, the shade's already started.
Got any more of them acolyte bowls lying around so I can eat some ramen noodles out of it? You won't be needing them, unfortunately.
No, because you know what? The people that made Acolyte were too stupid. They didn't even know what a bowl was, so they meant to ship bowls, but because they were so inept, they actually sent plates. And so it was hard to serve anything that was supposed to be in a bowl on a plate because they didn't even know how to write Star Wars. They didn't know how to do anything, and they didn't even know what a bowl was versus a plate. That's how dumb those people were that ran the Acolyte.
Wow. That is not my take. That is.
It's not really mine either.
No,
but Alden, it is. We're YouTubers and podcasters right now.
But this is what I mean. Is that
it was terrible?
Is that's going to get clipped out, and people are going to think that you're serious? And I've been on the internet long enough to know how that's going to go. So I'm putting this on the record. No, yeah, I mean,
you know what?
It's
yeah, I have been too, and I have had those clips made of me sent out there, and it was interesting.
Oh, I don't know anything about saying things online and then them being twist. Never happened to me. It's never squeak a clean record. Yeah, it's interesting to think. So your first question was, what do I think that means, right? Like, what do I think the new era means? I think, and part of this is just having grown up with Dave in as much as because like we all grew up with George, but a lot of us it's at that point now where Clone Wars was like, they were making Clone Wars 20 years ago. It came out 18 years ago. And so an entire adult has grown in the time that we've had Dave present in this. And a lot of us have known him since like the DVD bonus features and like all that stuff. And so it's like, he is a very much like George, a very, keep the cards close type of guy. He likes to leave it open for you. Like, he'll give you a lot of something like World Between Worlds or something like that, but he's never in all these years, and he probably never will, sit down and be like, here are my notes and how it works and what the blah, blah, blah and the metaphysics, and like,
thank God.
And I'm glad. Yeah, exactly. I'm very glad for that. It's better poetically, and I think as a businessman, remains to be seen. It's a new era. Him and Lin-Wen Brennan, two people have been there forever. Cool. Awesome. The Kennedy era, now a closed book. Cool. Awesome. Now we have the Lucas and the Kennedy. And now I like that there's continuity. I like that it's people that have always been there.
Oh my God. We went from flannel to my shoulder pad queen.
Yeah, shoulder pads.
That's an old throwback to old pink milk people listening, if you haven't listened. But she's my shoulder pad queen, to now the cowboy hat era.
The cowboy hat era. The cowboy hats, hockey jerseys.
And so,
and I think that he is a guy that, like, when he says that, I do take him sort of on face value. I think that first point of like, he's right about culture, right? Because I quote, my co-host and partner Ken over from Force Center. What he always points out is that going into 7, especially for you guys that were like OT babies and kids, that movie you had all written, made up, and watched in your brains 100 million times growing up. What would it be like? What would it be like? And I think people now, like, starting the movie, the new era of movies with characters that are, one, demonstrably factually your breakouts. Your breakouts of the Kennedy era are Kylo Ren, BB-8, Rey. I would say to a certain degree. I mean, she's a theme park staple, Rey, and Din and Grogu. I would say are the big 5 of the Kennedy era.
Din and Grogu are number 1.
And Din and Grogu, definitely have. Yeah, exactly. I've taken that, and so to start
I
with
would
them,
say by a large amount.
But to start with them, I think is very smart. And to Dave's point, that cultural buildup hasn't happened. It'll be a new story with people you already love, in the same way that Spider-Man comes out this year, and that's a new story with somebody you already love. Had they put Din and Grogu on the shelf for 20 years and then brought them back, like, that's creating that weight. And I think Dave's acknowledging this is not a thing that's ever going away again. We need to accept that,
Mm-hmm.
and we need to.
Mm-hmm.
You can't recreate the between
Mm-hmm.
Sith and Seven gap. That was they'll never happen again. We don't live in that world anymore. So I think that's the first part
Mm-hmm.
of what he's saying, and the second part of what he's saying,
Mm-hmm.
I think, is just that this movie is sort of kind of just based on what we've seen. I don't want to, you know, take a dig at Andor or anything else that did something different, but like this is a Star Wars on 11 in a way that we haven't seen. Like this movie looks like Return of the Jedi's child in a way
Mm-hmm.
that I think that like The Force Awakens had a very unique cultural task of coming off of all these years where people, I think wrongly, and I think you think wrongly, I think a lot of people that would watch anything that you and I do or
Mm-hmm.
any of our friends, we don't agree with this, but the culturally accepted notion at the time was there's three that suck and then there's the three good ones. And
Mm-hmm.
Force Awakens had to come around with a lot of gravitas and American cultural importance and global cultural importance and the return of the big three and say, Star Wars, the legend of Star
Mm-hmm.
Wars is back. Like,
Mm-hmm.
whereas now a generation has come up where it's like, your grandma knows the word Mandalorian now. Sabine Wren is being played in live
Oh my
action
God, yeah.
in the second season of a streaming television series. Like we have the secondary main character is a puppet. Like it's not that we're not
Mm-hmm.
it's not that it's not grand anymore, but we are no longer pretending like it's cool. And I love that. I don't like when Star Wars pretends like it's cool. Like the Andor season 2 trailer that came out that used a real rock song and had all the critics quotes in it. I hated that trailer. I'm on the record really hating that trailer because I don't think George Lucas ever would have done something that glazed the critics that way and was very like, look at me, look at me. And I think that the Mandalorian and Grogu trailer is beautiful to me because it says, if you are not on board with this giant snake and these giant slugs and this little goblin baby and these three little Anzellans and Pedro and all this weirdness, we're telling you now, this is just a
It's
taste.
not for you.
Like, we are
Yeah, this
telling
isn't
you
for you.
now, this is a teaser. If you're not down with Martin Scorsese making food as a fucking monkey, then sorry. And I respect that.
Yep.
So that's my long rambly answer on what I think that means.
No, I love it. I really love it. Oh my God. Yeah. This is my first podcast in 2.5 years. So all of you listening, thank you so much. Alden, thank you for being here because
thanks.
You are very brilliant and I always love our conversations and you make me sound much smarter because especially after 2.5 years, I'm sure this is going to be a little rusty and that's okay. It's like I'm in my, The Force Awakens era again. It's been a few years. I gotta dust off the things, right? There was a part of me, because yes, I love the prequels. I think there is a huge part of me that likes the prequels even better than the OT.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, the OT is what I grew up on, so there's still that love and affection there. Something I want to talk about here in a little bit. But I don't think I ever blamed Disney, Star Wars, however you want to put it. Whoever was, I think I would love to pretend like Lucasfilm is wagging the tail, but I don't think Lucasfilm is wagging the tail. I think Disney wags the tail. And I think there was probably a lot of fighting going on between Kathleen Kennedy, who probably wanted different things. I think that's very obvious that she wanted different things. When you get things like The Last Jedi, and she's still very proud of The Last Jedi, no matter what that reaction caused. I like that energy. Probably rambling myself now. I am almost happy that Star Wars kind of bombed a couple of times because maybe Disney will loosen the leash a little bit.
I think that
and maybe hopefully
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Like I'm hoping that like the Mandalorian and Grogu is really off the wall, weird, but in a mass market friendly way, so it is still successful. But like Disney, because like Star Wars is a very unique thing and it is unlike anything else, and we cannot Disneyfy. I'm a YouTuber now. This is what I need to say. Things like this, but like we can't do that to this because it won't work because it's its own thing.
I think
so.
that,
When The Force Awakens came out, I don't think I knocked them for trying to avoid the prequels. I kind of get it because yes, at the time people hated the prequels, like they hated them.
Or they were
That is
told to.
different
Yeah,
now.
they were told
Yeah,
to,
or they
or
were
it was
told to.
accepted
Yeah,
that they were. Yeah,
yeah,
and also
yeah,
in fairness to Force Awakens too, like I also think that like it's not like it was unnatural. Like they were making a sequel to the Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher,
yes,
Mark Hamill movies that are
yes,
movie classics as well as being nerd things. So it's like
100%.
they were able to. They could not have started the new era on bringing Ewan McGregor back or something like that. They
Yeah,
had to
100%, 100%,
build to that, and when we did get there, that felt very welcome home prequel kids. Like that felt very celebratory
100%,
in that way.
100%. I think there was a part of me even back then, and that is one of the things that I is not my favorite thing about the sequel trilogy. And it's one of my things that is not my favorite thing about the majority of what Star Wars has done, even the things that I really like. I miss George Lucas's middle finger at everybody. I miss that energy. I think Star Wars has its middle finger up at everybody in a really playful way. And I think, and that's something I put on it probably myself also, because I think Star Wars, being a massive, Star Wars raised me. I did not have the greatest childhood. I was neglected a lot. And I think Star Wars is, I genuinely credit a lot of who I am because of Star Wars, and I care about it on a very deep level because it really molded me, right? And then being a queer person is a radical thing. I think I learned how to be a queer person and be radical because of Star Wars. And I know that's probably such a big reach for a lot of people, but I can like pull these memories out, right? And draw those lines there.
Absolutely.
But Star Wars taught me how I could be funny, playful, approachable, and still have my middle finger up all at the same time.
Mhm.
All of these things that shouldn't be able to be together can all actually be together. Like you can teach kids and young people. I don't like the word kids in Star Wars because Star Wars is not made for kids. Star Wars, yes, I know George Lucas's quote. It's a family affair. It is
Yeah.
a family affair and
Yes.
written by and for young people. And it should always be written for and by young people that can also still attract everybody else. IMO. But it taught kids to put their middle finger up to school, to their parents,
Mhm.
to authority,
Mhm.
while also respecting all of those things at the same time. It was a really complicated story to tell, and it did it beautifully.
I mean, Star
Right?
Wars is a story of contradictions in a lot of ways. Like there are
Yeah.
two jokes that I love. One I credit to Joseph Scrimshaw, also from Force Center, who says that like Star Wars is like a table with a wobbly leg, which is like
Hmm.
it's why it and there's a charm to that. Like it's why it bothers. And this is me speaking for me. Not everybody listening has to. You get to like that free. I've been online too long defensiveness. Uh,
Hmm.
I personally think it's annoying and not fitting of Star Wars when the voice that is given to the brand in the social presence sounds the way that other brands sound now.
Hmm.
Because Star Wars in the DNA of it is outcast freaks, hippie burnouts,
Hmm.
dropouts, academics that were too smart for any program but too aimless for any real job. Like it was like those are the people that
Hmm.
made it in a garage. And then those people became the friends of this weird wizard up at his ranch who was changing things up here. And I acknowledge that it was his choice to sell. And like, so I'm not like, and that's why it shouldn't have. I acknowledge reality. I don't care.
Yes.
I will
100%.
always be net glad that it continued. And I love so much of what exists now.
Yep.
I, I
Yep.
do think that sometimes there's a little bit to what you're saying of like, it doesn't need to be cute and pretty. Like if there's one brand that should kind of sound like an awkward older guy, it is this one, or not even you don't even have to gender it. Just like as an awkward older nerd, it should be this one. And I think that
Hmm.
yeah, sometimes I rub up on that. And I think to your point of like I think about George's like dare to be cute, when people questioned the Ewoks back in the 80s of like, or Richard Marquand arguing that Akbar's design should be the fish head because kids should see that not all good guys are handsome and look nice and like that there should be a big ass ugly fish fighting for good. That's important. Like things like that have always been there. And
100%.
that's why I like sometimes when it does rear its head now, it always feels good because it's that. Like Grogu his entire existence. But like really, season 1 in the galleries, remember the Disney galleries, the making ofs,
Mm-hmm.
and Werner Herzog said
Mm-hmm.
that they told him,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, we're gonna swap some of it later with a CGI baby," and he went up to Jon Favreau and said, "If you swap the," I'm paraphrasing, but he was like, "If you swap that puppet out for
Mm-hmm.
CGI, you're a coward. Like, you would be a
Mm-hmm.
coward to do something like that. You have to keep it a puppet." And he was right.
Mm-hmm.
He was right.
Blast Points talks about those kinds of things all of the time. Like,
Mhm.
there is a level of hokiness that needs to be in Star Wars because
Yes.
it's part of its charm.
Yes. There should always be
Yeah, I
something, like,
feel
a
like
little bit removed from, like, we've seen such incredible things. Like, we could watch James Cameron's Avatar. We can watch, the modern Planet of the Apes. Be like, I know what's possible. I don't come to Star Wars to impress me with what it can do technically. I come to it for what
Mhm.
it can come up with magically. Like, I don't want, like, yeah, like, you probably could come up with it a phenomenal CGI Wookiee at this point with, like, Andy
Yep.
Serkis level ape
Yep.
technology. I never want to see it. That's not why a Wookiee is charming.
Yep.
I don't
Yep.
want it.
Yep. I feel like there is, and not like with you, like I agree. There are certain things that Star Wars Disney will never be able to do because it's not just one person's thing anymore.
Yeah.
And I accept that. Like
Yeah.
there's good and bad to that,
Yeah.
which I'll
Good and bad to
mention
it,
here
for
in a
sure.
little bit, right?
Yeah.
But one thing that I love about Star Wars, and this is one of the things that I actually think Andor got very right.
Mhm.
Hopefully you all can come along on this journey with me, and I hope it all makes sense because it makes perfect sense in my head. Star Wars, ahead of its time, always, and behind the times, always, because Star Wars was like a legend before it became anything. I love Star Wars that is, let's rewind back to 2024. Let's have 2024 energy. We all still remember 2024 energy.
Sadly.
Star Wars is Kamala Harris and all the things that she stood for, but she has not the words, but the energy of MAGA. Star Wars, I feel, is aggressively
lib.
progressive.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like aggressive, that 70s, like
They're punks.
Stonewall riots.
They're punks.
We're good. I'm going to pick up a brick and I'm going to throw it through a window and I'm going to like hit a police officer because I'm not going to take it anymore. And I miss that. I don't think we'll ever have it again. Just because, but the times were also different. The times wouldn't allow for that.
Mhm.
And I also, like, unfortunately, maybe we'll get there again someday, but I do think Andor was the most like that. Like, Andor feels like such a rare gift in this time of Star Wars. Like, the things that show was able to get away with compared to what the sequel trilogy didn't dare do was so crazy to me.
Yeah, but do you want
Just
to
crazy.
get into the complicated nature of Andor right now then?
Okay, yes. Before we get there, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of my questions for you in
Sure.
this new era, if
Sure.
there is a new era coming, in order to have a conversation about a new era, you have to talk about what the era was that came before it.
Yes.
And so what is Star Wars? And I feel from my perspective, especially after being away from online, not podcasting, and being able to just be a Star Wars fan the way that I was always a Star Wars fan before without thinking about, okay, what am I going to take away with this? How am I going to talk about that? So I'm going to bring a guest on. These are the things I want to touch on, which I loved that for a little while. It was like so great to just be a Star Wars fan. But then I was offline, so I also couldn't nerd out with anyone and like theorize and what does all this mean? So it was, for me, Star Wars has always been about helmet and not necessarily a literal helmet, but Star Wars. And it was one of the things that is just different in the times now. And I hope Star Wars never acquiesces to this need of constant explanation of everything. But I think Star Wars is brilliant in creating a character that anyone can dress up as and see that world through their own perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
And Star Wars is incredibly personal to a lot of people. I do not think it's about nostalgia. I don't think it's about, I remember seeing this as a kid and I want to chase that feeling again. I think there is a feeling that I think a lot of people misrepresent in the word nostalgia.
Yes.
And now that Stranger Things is done, maybe we'll get away from this word for a while because I also love Stranger Things and do not think it was a nostalgia big thing. I think they clever marketed, but the story was not nostalgic at all, actually, personally. But Star Wars is so personal, which to go back to some of our conversations earlier, it was so much fun to rib on one another
Yeah.
and have conversations. It's the thing that I loved the most about making this podcast, actually, because I think Pink Milk is so much about Star Wars, but also nothing about Star Wars all at the same time. Star Wars is the gateway to have different kinds of conversations. And it's the kind of conversations that I remember used to have that don't happen anymore because we're too hell bent on connections and Marvel MCUing everything and what does this mean and not enjoying actually the process of not knowing because who Rey Skywalker is to you might be very different to Rey Skywalker is to me. That being able to build that connection and being able to build a friendship because someone had a different experience than you is what made it so great. That's what made it a myth. That's what made it a legend. That's what made it timeless. And I don't want Star Wars to ever not be timeless because, like, my son, who's a super fan, is 12 and can still love Luke Skywalker. I mean, he loves Anakin Skywalker. I mean, Anakin Skywalker is probably now bigger than Luke Skywalker, like in the collective fan base now. Once you get to people outside of my age demographic,
Yeah.
Anakin is where it's at because everyone can relate to growing up and all the feelings that Anakin had. And then you made it fantastical by making him a Jedi who could move things around and do all of the things. But that's what made him so connected because everyone struggled growing up. What those struggles are is different. And so if a story spent too much time talking about what that struggle was specifically to him, you lose that connection. They're no longer universal to everyone. And I think that's what Star Wars is really about, is finding that balance of giving you just enough to keep it interesting, but not giving you too much that you can't be Anakin Skywalker and I can't be Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah.
And that's where like the toys made it different.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you brought up the toys. Put a pin in that because I did want to complain about it later. When you said come up with, because for behind the scenes, Brian had texted me like loosely, just like, like, oh, like maybe we could do like three favorite things, three worst things of the era. And like one of my gut three worst things was we have been utterly, I already dropped an F-bomb by accident. I didn't ask if I was allowed to curse. So if you want to edit out that earlier one, am I allowed to?
Well, now, yeah, okay. If you've been a long-term Pink Milk listener, beep rewind to 45 minutes ago. I'm a teacher now, and I have to have a little more of an editing face on than I used to. So
that's true.
You're not going to find those old episodes.
That's true. That's true.
Because they are now gone because no one needs to see Mr. Barry doing what Mr. Barry used to do, even though I have no shame about
those episodes are now pink.
I've entered a new era.
Those are Pink Milk legends now. And these are Pink Milk canon. They happened in a way. A version of them happened.
Oh my God. Let's fast forward a few years because people are going to be interested in a few years.
I'm
sure. If you are interested in the legends of Pink Milk, you should just let me know and I'll send you like a private link to the private feed on YouTube.
Exactly.
You can watch it.
If you're finding this and you want your history, it can be archived for you. But yeah, I think so much of what you said is true. And like, it's, you find these, but I was going to go on a little toy rant. The toys, we're getting effed on the toys. There, I won't say the word. We're getting effed on the toys. Pisses me off. But the 30th anniversary line was a godsend. We had everybody. We had everyone. And now Hasbro, and I know it's not necessarily Disney's fault. It's not necessarily Lucasfilm's fault. But there's a lot of factors. The toy market sucks right now.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
So, as a dad, it is different. They need to stop they need to stop making toys for kids. Little kids don't play with toys the same way we used to. They just don't. They're little, and they need to go back to some of our like galactic heroes, right? That's what the little play school things. Those kids will play with toys. We're not going to get kids 7, 8, 9, 10. They don't play with toys anymore. But what they need to do is toys look different now. Look, we can all have our feelings about Fortnite, and Fortnite is dying as a dad, but like Roblox is now the new thing. Star Wars needs to start putting themselves in places like that because that's how kids play with toys now. They're Roblox. Star Wars, you need to collab like a Roblox. Star Wars, you need to make games that are
Which
more that
I
style of thing
struggle with,
for
Brian,
kids.
so
Yeah.
much because you're right. Business-wise, you're right.
It's not for me.
Yeah,
It's not for
you're
me.
right business-wise. But what I struggle with is that I hate it, and this ties in with what we just said about, like, tone and culture of what it is. I hate that, how do I word this? I hate it when Star Wars has to be a follower. That's a good way to word it. Because Star Wars used to
Yes.
create conversations instead of following them. And what I mean
Yes.
by that is
But
like
that was George.
that was George, but a lot of that was George. A lot of that was George. And it is incumbent on the leadership, and who knows? Because it's not just a new dawn for Lucasfilm, it's a new dawn for Disney. It's an Igerless era, and the new guy comes in and kills the Sora deal, and who knows? Maybe he'll be better. Who knows? Try not to put too much faith in a fucking in an executive, but my bad. I started talking about executives and I got real hostile real quick. But it is like, maybe, it'll be a different tone, who knows? But yeah, like for the Star Wars of it all, that toys thing's a thing. But to your point earlier about characters, that's such a uniquely Star Wars thing, like you said, about anybody can love these people, because in a lot of fandoms or just a lot of like enjoying of art, if you love a thing, like, people who love, let's just say, Frankenstein, generally have an agreed upon like understanding of what it is, and they love it for very similar reasons. You will find people that love a Star Wars character and they love it very differently. Very differently. Sometimes diametrically opposed. Like you will find people who,
Yes.
and you know this as a Rey lover, as am I, there are Rey fans that look at you and I and our interpretation of Rey like we're nuts. And I them. There are people who sometimes I look at their interpretation of Rey and I'm like, do you even love her? Like, what are you talking about? But they do. They do love her. It's not dishonest.
Those are the old roasts that were so much fun to have.
Yeah.
Because you could go to your comic book store and you could have that roast with some random stranger and it would get heated and you'd get mad. And then at the end of the day, you'd both hop in your car that had like Jedi license plate and you'd give each other a thumbs up because it was the greatest thing. Because you're like, oh my God, I found my people.
There's something to it. And I do think that going forward, like it's fun that, like, my general hope, before we get like specific about our favorites and all that stuff, is my general hope going forward, and I'm encouraged already with what's on the board. Right now, we're in a bountiful year. We're both working on, we got Pink Milk back now. I'm working on something. Now's a good time to be back because this is the most bountiful year in a while, since pre-COVID. We have a literal movie, a live action series, an animated series, an anime series, because Ninth Jedi is being expanded into a full season.
Yep.
Into that, we have Zero Company on games. We have Galactic Racer in games. We have multiple books. We have one of those books, by the way, is Rey and Leia between 8 and 9 training and going to Tython and going to a Jedi temple. That comes out in July. That's going to be nuts. Like seeing Master Leia canonically for the first time. Like, this is a great year.